another episode of the Speaking Ill podcast. I am your host. I am Brian. So for those of you that are new and that are wondering what this podcast is about, Speaking Ill was originally created as a unfiltered podcast to help the cystic fibrosis community about various topics, experiences, things we all have gone through. And since its creation, I've actually had a lot of people with other conditions and even just normal, plain old people with no conditions say they find a lot of value in it. So that is what the podcast is about. So this episode particular is going to be about TRT. And you guys might be wondering what TRT is. And so I will go over what TRT is, how it helps, who it's for, how to go about starting TRT, all those types of questions. The reason this episode even became an idea is because my wife and I are going through the IVF process. So I myself have cystic fibrosis, and large majority, 98, 99% of CF men cannot have kids naturally, so they have to do IVF. And when we started this IVF process, I've had to halt or stop my TRT therapy. And I've noticed lots of changes since I've stopped about 4 months ago. And so I posted all about this on my Instagram, which my handle is Brian King, Brian with 3 I's and King with 3 I's. And a lot of interest sparked. So I've gotten a lot of messages about, IVF stuff, the questions around IVF, and I've gotten a lot of messages about TRT. And so instead of just constantly answering questions, I figured, well, heck, I might as well start filming videos and episodes on this stuff. So my wife and I have filmed about 3 videos that we're going to post on YouTube regarding IVF, all the things that we have learned that we thought we might know, but we really did not know very much about. So we're kind of tracking our journey. And again, we'll share those on YouTube. So be sure to check those out if you're interested. And then again, like I'm going to do this episode now about TRT and all the ways it can help everybody. But again, big ways it can help CF people as well. So before I dive on into that, I want to say that this topic is mainly all about men. I do not know how TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, I do not know how this would affect or help women. I'm only speaking to my experience, what I've read, what I've been told, and the things I've learned along my own TRT journey. Again, this is for men, and this is not professional medical advice, guys. I'm not a doctor at all. I'm just speaking, again, on my experience and the things that I've learned and what works for me. If you guys choose to do TRT, my path might work for you too. But again, always speak or consult with your physician before making any changes regarding your health. Okay, now that is out of the way. So what has been going on? And one of the biggest questions is, why the hell have I not done an episode in a while? And, to be honest, guys, we'll cover that in this episode. But to be honest, I stopped TRT about 3 or 4 months ago, and I had no idea the impact that would have, because I've been doing TRT for 3 years. So there's been a long time before that I was living life just fine. And, but anyway, without TRT, it just seems like my drive, my motivation is just plummeted. Sex drive, goal-driven person I usually am, very happy and optimistic. And I'm still all those things, but again, the libido and the energy and the mental clarity and the oomph, if you will, in me has just really kind of taken a hit. So again, I contribute a lot of this to TRT, and I'll explain why in this episode. But then on top of that, my wife and I have started our IVF process. We've done lots of lab work, lots of meetings, consultations. So that's where really our main focus and energy has been. And then I unfortunately had a very unexpected death in the family recently. I lost my dad 2 years ago. I lost my grandpa last year. And this past month, I've lost my aunt. And believe it or not, that has been the hardest loss I've experienced so far. My aunt and I were very, very close. I would say we considered each other best friends. She was 67 years old, went to sleep and just didn't wake up. Had, no really big health concerns or anything like that we were aware of. They believe she had a heart attack in her sleep. And so, what the cause of it was, I don't know that I can touch on that, but it seems like heart issues are a big thing in our society just recently. A lot of athletes are dropping dead at young ages related to heart issues. So anyway, moving on from that, guys, she was the glue in our family. We had all of our family get-togethers at her house. She was middle-aged, but had the personality of a kid. She always brought jokes and humor and cheesy things and cheesy jokes to the table. And her and I we'd be at the table all playing family games together, and we would have some little moment where we'd lock eyes and have an inside joke that we just start cracking up about. She loved to go into the slot machines at the casino. So she introduced me to those, and we go and we bet minimum bet, and we just hang out. We root each other on and just catch up on life. The one thing I learned from her is always have fun, always smile, always laugh. Don't take life too seriously or be too stressed out. We went to the casino, like I said, and we were never there to win a house payment or a paycheck. It was always, let's bet minimum bet, 60 cents per spin. And it's just entertainment. We're just there to root each other on and have a good time. And so that was who she was. She was always about having a good time. Again, like I really, that was a devastating loss, guys. And so just, message out there is life is short, life is unexpected, and really, really hold your loved ones close. Make an effort, guys. Make an effort in your relationships, your friendships, your family. Make an effort to be there and to make memories. Because as kids, there's things that we do with our families and our loved ones that we really cherish. And I don't think we all think that will ever change as we grow old. We take time for granted. And the truth is that all good things have to come to an end. And I've learned that more and more in the recent years as I've seen my loved ones in my family age and where they aren't able to do some of those things we used to do, or I see my loved ones pass away, right? So it's a bummer. It really, really sucks. It's a blessing and a curse to age and grow old. So guys, again, just really take time to always try to put family first and your loved ones first and create memories together. It's very, very important. But all right, so not going to be too much of a Debbie Downer on this episode. That is kind of what has delayed me from staying on top of the podcast, guys. Just a pretty rough time in life lately. Pretty busy, stressful times. So that's that. But all right, and on top of all that, I've lost like 20 pounds. I don't know if you guys can tell it in the video, but I've lost like 20 pounds because, again, I just haven't had much of an appetite. I haven't had much energy. I'm still going to the gym, but I'm just not as excited about it anymore. I'm not just like, in there and in there to win it. So my own fault, right, for not staying on top of my diet, my training, but that's what's been going on. So anyway, let's jump into the main topic, which is TRT. All right, so what is TRT? TRT is I'm going to mess this up. Testosterone replacement therapy, okay? That is what TRT is. So to kind of give you an idea, every male has testosterone, obviously, and our levels are between 200 and, say, 1,000 or 200 and 1,200. So when we are 21 years old, typically our testosterone levels peak at their highest, okay? And then as we age each year, our testosterone levels go down just a little bit each year, especially starting in our 30s. So there are testosterone clinics that you can go to, or men's health clinics you might hear or see a lot, that will do testosterone therapy. And what their goal is they will see what your levels are currently at, and they will provide you with testosterone, which comes in the form of injections or it comes in the form of creams. So I've been told that creams are not as reliable, and they're also dangerous because creams will rub off very easily. So if you were to put a cream on your body and maybe it's still on your fingers or still on your wrist, whatever it is, and then you were to touch like your wife, for example, or your kids, for example, you actually can give them a dose, quote unquote, of testosterone, which could affect them negatively. So that's what I've been told about creams. The injections seem to be the most consistent and safe route. But again, these clinics basically will try to give you testosterone that helps you get back up to that optimal high end of the testosterone range. And so you might say, well, what does that matter? How does it affect us? So, symptoms of low testosterone, guys, let me kind of provide you some here. So I got some of these sheets I'll probably provide on the video version off the internet that just kind of sum it all up. But the cognitive signs and symptoms that you could have low testosterone is going to be depression, cognitive dysfunction, reduced motivation, poor concentration, poor memory, irritability. Some of the physical signs would be more like reduced muscle mass, maybe obesity. Usually larger people tend to have less testosterone and more estrogen. Reduced energy, fatigue, just feeling tired all the time, not very driven. Diminished work performance, diminished libido, so your sex drive being lower. Loss of body hair, reduction of beard growth, things like that. So a story goes, which, this is a good example of tell you guys what I mean, or express testosterone levels. I had a really, really good friend in college, and we stayed friends for, 10 years or so. And we'd always, kind of joke with him, right? Because he liked chick flicks a lot, and he liked chocolate a lot. And we'd go work out together, and then he'd say, I need some chocolate. So, of course, we always cracked jokes and poked fun at him. But years later, him and I decided, what, like, let's go really help and step up our workout game, and let's go find a TRT clinic. We thought that a TRT clinic was going to just make us become huge muscle monsters, right? That's not what happens. Just so you guys know, that's not the case. But we went to the TRT clinic. We got our levels tested. Mine came back about 650, and his came back at 203. And we're like, wow. So that could be why he liked the chick flicks and had the chocolate cravings, and he wasn't a very optimistic person. So it was interesting because after starting TRT and then helping us get our testosterone levels back up to optimal, because we were in our late 20s at this time, he even said, he's like, Brian, like, I feel so much more energetic and so much more optimistic now. It's crazy. And this is, again, after a few months of TRT. And so that was a huge change for him. He felt just very good, energetic, optimistic, felt his libido go up, just all kinds of good improvements in his lifestyle like that. With me, I didn't really feel like I had a lot of improvements. Libido for sure went up. My gym workouts seemed to be better, and I just felt a little bit more like energetic. I've always been a pretty optimistic guy. So anyway, I didn't see much. However, now that I've come off testosterone, huge difference. So once you have it, but you don't know what you have till you lose it. So again, for IVF, you can't be on testosterone because when you're on exogenous testosterone, or AKA TRT, your body stops producing testosterone naturally because the body's trying to be as efficient as possible. So it's, hold on, I don't need to use energy producing that because I'm getting it elsewhere, right? So when I came off TRT, my levels were very, very low, right? They're going to go back down to my natural levels. And that's when, guys, I really noticed just a huge lack in motivation, a huge lack in drive and energy. Libido went way, way down. My workouts aren't nearly as good. It seems like I am like losing weight very easily. I'm not able to hold on my muscle as well. Appetite is super low. I'm eating like, 2-3 times a day. I was eating 4, 5, 6 times a day before. So some of this is all discipline. So I'm gonna, I'll admit that. Like some of this discipline has a big role in. But I I just don't have that same mood and energy I had before. That's the biggest loss I've seen. So that is the symptoms and how TRT affects you and whether it actually will benefit you or not. I 100% would say yes. If you asked me this 6 months ago, I'd say, yeah, it'd give you a little bit of a boost. And now I'm like, no, it can affect you in big ways for the better, for the better. So anyway, guys, how would you get your levels checked though, if you're interested? And, who needs TRT? So again, TRT is great for any male, especially over, I would say 25 years old, but you could be 21 with low testosterone levels too. So for example, CF patients or people with CF naturally are lower in testosterone. And I've had people say, well, how do you know that? You just sounds like you're making that up. It does me no good to tell you guys that you need testosterone. Like, what does that do for me, right? So I was like, no, do a quick Google search and you'll see lots of studies going on right now that are actually doing studies with TRT for CF patients. So so CFers are naturally lower in testosterone. So I have 3 studies in front of me here that I'm going to kind of paraphrase and quote here that are from, one's a Canadian Center of Diabetes for CF, and then another one is another establishment here in the U.S. but it says lowered force expiratory volume, FEV1, was associated, so lower FEV1, which is how we measure our lung capacity, was associated with increased incidences of low bioavailable testosterone, so lower testosterone levels. Individuals with lower testosterone were more likely to take systematic steroids, which is like prednisone, be hospitalized more, and have more occurrences of death, okay? So again, that's CF patients that have lower testosterone, more likely to be hospitalized, need steroids, have lower lung function, and resulting in death, right? So right there it says lower testosterone does affect you and affects CF patients in negative ways. Another, conclusion here, another study is CF patients with stable disease have moderately reduced serum testosterone levels. This might already imply detrimental effects on bones. The change in lean body mass of patients appears to have no direct association with sex hormone levels, while fat body mass might cause reduced net conversion of testosterone. So, again, long story short, it's just saying that CF patients with lower testosterone levels also could have impacts to their bones, and that, just naturally CF patients have lower testosterone. So they're all 3 of these little excerpts are kind of saying the same thing, but I just want to quote them so I'm not just BSing you here. But anyway, guys, so CF is for, most males. I mean, not CF. It's not for most males. Testosterone is for most males, and it is also a huge benefit to CF patients. So how would you get your levels checked? So here's the tricky part. So you can get your levels checked by urologist, by endocrinologist. My CF clinic, my care team refuses to check my levels because they say, well, we don't treat hormones. We don't know how to read the lab work, so they won't order the test. If you were to go to your urologist or your endocrinologist and you get your levels checked, if you are in that 200 to 1,000 or 1,200 range, they're going to tell you you're normal, okay? And so that's, my experience and what I've been told by others, same thing. They're told, no, you're normal. You're in the normal range. And yeah, you might be in the normal range. However, the way you feel at 200 is totally different from the way you feel at 1,000. Again, take my own example with me and my buddy who had 203. Perfect example right there. So you feel vastly different. So this is where TRT clinics or men's health clinics come into play. So their goal, again, is to get you to optimal levels, which is at the top end of that range. So even if you're at 200 or 400 or 600 or even 800, they'll say, well, okay, we can give you a small dose and basically tailor the dose to whatever will help get you to that optimal range and you feel better at. Now, you were to try TRT and you don't feel better, and then so you know what, you don't need it. Maybe TRT doesn't work for you, and therefore you don't need to take it. And I believe that majority of the time, guys, TRT is not a medical necessity. I would imagine probably it's very rare that males have levels lower than 200. However, is a choice and an elective, but however it could really benefit you. So that's my experience. So again, all you have to do is, if you want to get your levels checked, or if you're interested in testosterone replacement therapy, is Google TRT clinics in your area, or go to men's health clinics in your area. And again, you could always go the medical route, but if you do so, it's likely that you're probably in the normal range and they won't treat you. One thing you always want to keep in mind is, blood work. And if you go to a clinic, of course, they will give you your dose. And basically how it would work is they'll say, okay, we'll start you at this dosage, which the normal TRT dose is anywhere from 100 to, I'd say 250. Some guys require 300. So one thing to keep in mind is it's very, very individual based. So one guy, for example, could need 300 or even 400 milligrams of testosterone to have testosterone levels in their lab work of 1,000. And another guy could only need 100 milligrams of testosterone per week. That would give them levels of 1,000. Okay? So you can't listen to what others are taking and think you needed that same dose. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's kind of how dosing works. And if you were to go to a clinic, they would draw your lab work. They'd say, okay, we're going to start you on this dose and we're going to see where you're at probably in 2 to 4 weeks. You do lab work again, and they'd be able to say, okay, we need to tailor the dose and adjust it or decrease it based on where you're at. So then you might say, well, what about side effects? Are there any side effects of testosterone replacement therapy? And really, there's not a lot of side effects. There's instances where it could affect your lipids. But again, at TRT doses, that's not a super high dose that really would start affecting your blood work. It could affect your hematocrit or your red blood cell count. And so some guys, and again, it's very individual based, okay? But a lot of guys that I've heard of, they will have a high red blood cell count, which just means that you have a lot of red blood cells and you're creating a lot of oxygen in your blood, which sounds good. But also, if you have too much red blood cells, then you start having, high blood pressures, kind of feel kind of sluggish. And in that event, the clinic would just do what's called a blood dump, where they just would, take blood from you, donate your blood, basically. You could even go to the Red Cross and possibly, donate blood depending on what criteria they have. But again, it's just, doing a blood dump is what TRT clinics will call it. And again, that's just for guys that happen to have high red blood cell count on TRT doses. But the other only really side effect that I would say you need to watch out for is your estrogen levels. So the way the body works is when you increase your testosterone in your body's going to try to equal that out by increasing your estrogen. So what you would experience is an increase in estrogen. And if your estrogen's too high, then you could be holding more water. You could feel bloated. Some depression could happen. You could have sex performance issues. And you could even develop gynecomastia over time. So you would be able to do lab work. That's why lab work is always super important. But you would do lab work, and you just saw that your estrogen numbers were a little high, then you would just take what's called an aromatase inhibitor, which is just a pill that blocks estrogen or reduces estrogen. So there's a few different types, but the clinics primarily seem like they use Arimidex. And again, this is just a pill you would take once or twice a week. They would obviously give you your dose, and that would help bring your estrogen back down to normal ranges. You don't want to take too much of this pill, because if you were to do so, you're going to do what's called crashing your estrogen, very, very low estrogen. And that could cause, joint pain, that could cause depression, that could cause irritability, again, libido issues, things like that. So again, there's a sweet spot. And usually when I hear it's about 20 to 40, but more specifically 20 to 30 is where most men feel good having their estrogen levels at. So that's really, from my experience, is the only side effects I really look out for. But again, it's easily mitigated. When it comes to gynecomastia, for example, a lot of men are scared about that. Like, I don't want breast tissue. So you would know, you would immediately feel like sensation, like burning or itching in your nipples. or something like that, or even bloating where you're like, oh, my estrogen's too high. I probably need to take an aromatase inhibitor, aka an estrogen blocking pill. You would also maybe call your clinic and tell them, and they would probably tell you the same thing. So these are all things that aren't going to happen overnight. It's not like my estrogen's high and tomorrow I'm going to have female breasts, right? That's not at all what happens. So don't be worried about that. But anyway, those are the only side effects that I have come across when it comes to TRT, and that's how to manage those side effects. And again, at some point, maybe you decide, you just want to lower your dose. Your clinic will tell you the same thing. If you're having estrogen side effects and you say, hey, I would rather not take estrogen pills or anti-estrogen pills, then okay, let's lower your testosterone dose until you're in a dose where your body doesn't produce that surge of estrogen. Another approach you could do is your injection frequency. So a lot of guys, if you're scared of needles, you might say, well, I'll do 1 injection a week. Okay, that's IM, which is intramuscular, and that will work. But the issue is this. Think about this. If you do 1 injection a week, you're going to have a significant increase in testosterone that one day, right? So over the week, so the half-life of testosterone cypionate, which is usually what they give you in the clinic, is 8 days. So over that half-life, so over the week, over the 8 days, your testosterone levels will slowly decrease, all right? And by the time the 8th day rolls around, where it's time for your next injection, they'll be at an all-time low. So you could feel very sluggish, you could feel very fatigued and just like, oh man, I just don't feel good. And as soon as you get that next injection, you feel good again, right? So one way to mitigate this would be do 2 shots a week. So take your dose, you divide it up by 2. So let's just say Monday and Thursday. Well, now you're going to have that initial spike, but it's not going to be as high. And it's going to slowly start to go down. But by the 3rd day, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Thursday, you would then have another little spike. And then you'd kind of go down. And then by Monday, you'd have another little spike. So your levels are going to be a little bit more stable and consistent. And the goal is they're going to keep you out of that, quote unquote danger range, not really danger, but danger where your testosterone's running a little bit low, you're just not feeling as good. So that's one way, and that would help kind of mitigate the estrogen issues just a little bit. Or a lot of clinics nowadays are offering for you to do subcutaneous injections, which is like insulin needles in your stomach or anywhere you have subcutaneous fat, and you do that 5 to 7 times a week, which so almost daily. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're taking your weekly dose and you're dividing it 5 to 7 times, okay? So you're doing a very small dose of testosterone each day, and what that's going to provide you is a more consistent, stable level of testosterone in your blood. And therefore, your body won't need to produce that increased surge in estrogen. And therefore, you could even get by doing that and not needing a single anti-estrogen pill. So those are different ways to do it. And when it comes to estrogen, guys, not everyone is going to have that experience. So there's very individual based again. So some guys convert to estrogen very, very easily, and they might need, for example, 3 half of an estrogen pill 3 times a week. Some guys could have very low estrogen conversion in their body, and therefore they don't need any or maybe just 1 pill a week. So it's very individual based. So I just want you to know that. It's not like you're doing anything wrong based on what you need compared to someone else. So that's how TRT works. That is what it is. That's how to mitigate side effects. That's where to go see if you need it or see how to get it. So then some people will say, well, I'm really into muscle building. I really am into bodybuilding. I really want to take testosterone. Will TRT help me? And yes, it will help you, but not maybe the way you're thinking. TRT is a very kind of moderate, decent dose that helps a lot with lifestyle. When it comes to workouts, it will give you more energy. It'll help you have better recovery from your workouts. I think in my experience, it will help you hold on to muscle easier, and it'll probably help you build muscle easier, but not in a dramatic fashion. So again, we thought in the beginning, like, oh man, TRT is going to blow us up. No, that's not the case. So then I've had people say, well, I'm kind of tempted to do higher doses of testosterone then. So that is where you're kind of getting into levels that are super physiological, or also known as performance enhancing. And so that's where, bodybuilders and some professional athletes and things like that might be taking much, much, much higher doses. But you have to understand that if you were to do that, you're basically doing that on your own. TRT clinics cannot help you with that because they get audited and they're not allowed to have your levels at such high levels. They kind of have a cap, which is that top end of the normal range that they have to keep you at. So otherwise they can get in trouble. So you won't find TRT clinics willing to take you to higher doses like that. And that's where you probably would need to find either an online clinic or a clinic that would, kind of be sketchy under the table, or, you'd have to order testosterone online on your own and administer it yourself to get those high levels like a lot of the professional athletes do. But that comes with its own mixed bag of risks, right? Are you going to find testosterone that is reputable and in good quality, or would you find some that, someone made in their house and it could be infectious, or it could be fake, all this kind of stuff? Those are the problems that you get into when you're trying to, buy it online. Now, the United States, I believe it's illegal to, obviously for TRT clinics to give you higher doses like that. But it seems like outside the United States, Mexico, maybe even Europe, definitely Thailand, things like that, you can just go to a pharmacy and buy testosterone on your own, like from the store, walk away with it, don't even need a script, like that type of thing. It's crazy. So, again, it's out there, and it's on the internet, places I'm sure that you could go purchase it at. But again, if you go up in dose, you are taking more risks. The higher doses you go to, the more it could affect your lipids, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, kind of get into that realm of things where you would have to have more supplements to manage and mitigate those risks. So again, that's the world of PEDs. And some people are like, oh, well, I've heard PEDs is cheating. If you do PEDs, that's cheating. You're just trying to find a quick way to get big. No, that's not the case. Because listen, would you say, hey, a high school football player should go against an NFL football player? Who would you say would be better? Well, yeah, naturally NFL football player. The reason is it's a whole nother caliber. So if you were to take someone, an NFL football player, and put them in a high school football game, yeah, that would be cheating, right? That would be, you wouldn't do that. That wouldn't be fair. It's the same thing in the world of TRT and PEDs and things like that. PEDs isn't cheating. It's just you're literally now putting yourself in a different caliber of people. So you would never compare yourself to someone that, is natural and doesn't do high doses of testosterone and other anabolic compounds. You would say, oh, they're in their own class, or I'm in my own class, right? You wouldn't need to compare. And on top of that, the look that it seems like most professionals get by using such high doses is a look that's not obtainable. So it's not to natural people, right? It's not a quick road to get big, if you will, because it's a road that takes you to a totally different destination. You can't obtain that look without taking PEDs. So, you hear a lot of people in media and on online social media and things like that comparing the two, and it's just, I don't understand. Like, do people just not get it? Like, are we that ignorant? Because once you get to a certain dose of testosterone and other anabolic compounds, you simply are out of the other league. Like you're in your own other league, and you could be the smallest person in that new professional league, right? But you could be the biggest person compared to, someone in the natural league. Does that make sense? So the point is, guys, you don't know what people are on. When you look at magazines, when you look at professional athletes, they could be on some anabolic compounds. They could be on high doses of testosterone. And I'm talking like 2,000, 3,000 milligrams a week of testosterone, right? Huge amounts. So don't ever try to compare yourself to those people, because it's not even in the same ballpark or the same game, okay? It's not cheating. It's just a totally different league. Again, like the NFL versus a high school football team. So keep that in mind. It drives me nuts when people like compare themselves to these like huge, people that have all this muscle and whatnot. Oh, well, one day I'm look like that. No, you're not going to look like that unless you get into the world of PEDs, because that look is unnatural. You can't achieve that naturally. So keep that in mind. I'm not here to judge you. So if you want to go high testosterone route, that's totally fine. And I've told people I would be willing to try to help them navigate and stay safe. But again, it's all about choice. It's what you want to do. And it's not a judgmental thing. If you think, hey, I'm willing to risk some of my health because I want to look this way, or I want to compete in this or compete in that, and therefore I feel like I need this or I need that, that's fine. You do you, man. Always just try to compare yourself to the previous version of you, no one else. So that's that, guys. And just whenever it comes to this stuff, the last thing I'll say before I start answering questions. So the last thing I'll say is just, you guys, it's super important. If you do TRT, that's great. But again, do your research, ask all the questions you need to at your TRT clinic. And you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel confident. And of course, you're doing something new. So there are things that like might kind of scare you or worry you, and once you get into the TRT and you understand and whatnot, you'll feel better and better and better about it. But if you choose to go higher doses and get into the PED world, which is performance enhancing drugs, you keep hearing me say that. If you get in the PED world, guys, seriously, like do very, 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 very thorough research. You want to know what you're getting into, because at that point, unless you have like a sports therapy person, or like of course a doctor or whatever, kind of like managing that for you, you're going to be all on your own. So there isn't like people that just will willy-nilly like help you out and navigate that world. So you want to be very, very thorough with your research. You want to go online and try to read all you can. Realize that everything you read online, guys, is not true, okay? You'll find some people that are taking just crazy doses of testosterone, and you'll hear some people claim that professionals only take 500 or 700 milligrams testosterone. That's not much higher than a TRT dose. It's not true. So there's a lot of things online that people don't know, just ignorant people talking. So you really have to try to read through all the noise and take as many notes as you can, and just be very, very smart about, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and if you're doing higher doses, where you're getting it from. And, if you live in the U.S. especially, if you live in Thailand or Mexico, something like that, maybe you can just go to a pharmacy and it's good quality. I don't know. So I live in the U.S., right? So I don't know what it's like in those other countries. So really, again, be super, super careful. This is hormones. So it's not like the end of the world devastating thing, but it could be a big thing to your health. You have to really be careful. But okay, that's that. So that's the whole topic of TRT. That's the whole topic of if you go into the PED world and what that's like, all that. Again, guys, I'm here to just give you advice and, experience. And I'm trying to make sure everyone is as safe as possible, and then obviously answer any of your questions you may have. So some of the questions I've gotten is just a few here that I didn't already answer. I got lots of questions, but I already answered them by going through this structure. So one question that I did not answer yet is, did TRT contribute to your beard? This is a message I got on Instagram. And, I would say yes, that testosterone basically makes your hair grow probably more and faster. But ironically, I was on TRT for a year and I could not grow a beard. Okay. I could grow a little bit of a thin mustache and on my chin, like a goatee, but I could not grow a beard. I couldn't grow the sides. I couldn't get to connect. And so a friend of mine, what he did was he told me about minoxidil. And I'm like, okay, what's that? So it's a foam that he would rub on his, face morning and night. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't believe him. But literally, guys, after like 1 or 2 months, he had a beard. I'm like, hold on, what did you do? And he literally told me, man, I told you, minoxidil. So minoxidil is a common ingredient found in Rogaine. So what I did was I ordered minoxidil foam. I can't remember if I ordered Rogaine or like a generic brand, but basically minoxidil foam from Amazon. And morning and night, I would rub it on my face. And after, it was like 2.5, 3 months time, every night, morning and night, literally, I had a beard. Like, it was insane. I was so stoked about it. So, like, it truly does work. And from what I understand, the way it works is it opens your pores so that your hair follicles can come through. So, again, guys, if you're interested in growing a beard and you feel like you can't, or you can't get your beard to fully connect or whatever, I would highly just give minoxidil a try. Anyway, that's that. So another question is, okay, so can you stop TRT once you start, or is it for a lifetime? So you can stop TRT anytime you want. Okay, you could take it for life, but you could also stop it, as I have, in order to do IVF. When you stop it, if you were to stop TRT just willy-nilly, your levels will slowly come back to their natural level. But if you go through a clinic or whatever, you would then probably be prescribed medications such like HCG, such as Clomid. And these are two medications that basically will try to help kickstart your natural production again. So again, my IVF clinic started me on HCG, and it was 1,000 milligrams 3 times a week. Milligrams? It might be units, 1,000 units. Anyway, 3 times a week. No, not 3,000 milligrams. That seems like a lot. But anyway, 1,000 units 3 times a week, and I've been doing that every week, up until my retrieval procedure, which is this week. As well as Clomid, I think that's 50 milligrams. I don't want to quote the dosage on that. But anyway, Clomid, and that's a pill that you take every day. The HCG is a subcutaneous injection or IM injection. And again, these will basically help kickstart your natural testosterone so you get back to your natural levels faster. So you can always stop TRT anytime you want. But again, you will obviously notice a difference in your mood and your lifestyle. I have another guy that said it took him a year till he really started feeling normal and good again after stopping TRT. So all depends on the medications you take, and it all depends on your own body. But yes, it is stoppable. So I imagine I might stop it. I'll probably start it again as soon as my retrieval's over for IVF. And then, I don't know. I have no idea. I might take it for life if I feel like I'm getting that much of a benefit. Maybe when we have kids and life slows down, or I get my 50s or middle age, maybe at that point I'll say, okay, well, maybe I'll stop it and I don't want to do injections anymore. Who knows? But point is, yes, you can stop it. Have you noticed improvements in your CF, including with breathlessness when it comes to TRT? So this is what I'll say. I haven't, from what I recall, experienced better breathing for CF since I started TRT. I was on TRT again for 3 years. I've now been off of it for almost 4 months. So I don't know that I can say that I've experienced better breathing. However, think about CF. CF can affect our mood. It can affect our sleep. It can affect our exercising, and it affects our weight, right? A lot of CFers are typically pretty skinny. So what I will say is all those things for me definitely have improved. I mean, I'm 5'7". I was 184 pounds before we started the IVF stuff. I think I've lost 15 to 20 pounds now. And again, that's not all TRT. It's, my discipline and being on my appetite and all that stuff. But I definitely can hold on to weight and muscle easier when I'm on TRT, and having more weight, not a lot, not obsessive like obesity, but having more weight correlates with lung function for CF. So typically CFers that are a more normal body weight or a better body weight will have better lung function. So therefore, I would say that it's helped my CF in lots of ways. It's given me more energy. It's helped my FEV1 a little bit. It's helped my weight stability. So all these things has definitely helped my workouts, my energy levels, and like endurance. I said energy twice, but I meant like endurance levels when exercising. So all those things, it's definitely helped. And just overall mood. So when it comes to CF, that's how TRT has benefited me. And I never really appreciated or understood that until now that I've been off for about 4 months. So, all right, guys, that is all the questions I had that I had not already answered in the guide or in this episode, the guideline that I had. So I hope that helps. Again, guys, message me anytime you want. Any questions you want on my Instagram, Brian King, Brian with 3 eyes, King with 3 eyes. Feel free to email me at the podcast email, which is speakingillpodcast@gmail.com. I would be happy to help. I love helping people. I love trying to inspire and motivate people. I'd be happy to answer any questions or just share who you are. Just, chat. It's totally cool. All right, guys, I hope that helped you guys. I hope that was all the questions you were looking to get answered, and I'm interested to see how you guys do with it. Let me know if you choose to try TRT or not, especially if you have CF. I would love to know if it helps you or not. And again, I think even a lot of clinics nowadays are getting into doing studies. The latest one I heard was a clinic in Colorado is doing a study. So it seems like it's up and coming, and it's going to be a big deal, I think. So anyway, guys, thank you again for listening. I will see you guys in the next one.